Recently, someone asked me about some ideas to improve her sketch. She's a beginner, so I gave her some tips. But let me just illustrate the question and the problem statement. So she had a sketch of a very nice building. I'm simplifying it, right? And like so. And then she had some figures littered across the page, like so. Now, if you have not seen my other videos about blobs, I will put a link right here. And the way she did her figures was basically like so, littering, the figures across a page with interesting figures. I mean, she did a better job than just the blobs. But anyway, I'm just going to illustrate it. So what I said was the size of the figures is a bit of a problem because in real life, nobody ever lines up like this unless they are waiting to be shot, as in, lining up for some kind of execution style, or maybe school kids in school queuing up for food or something. So I suggested that maybe the idea is to change the size of these figures. For example, if she were to take this figure and then make it larger, line up the head and basically like so. And maybe these two figures, again, larger somewhat and like so. Or maybe closer to this chap here. Now you find that that's a little bit more interesting than the sketch that she had, because now there seems to be some kind of a depth where there is a front, somebody in front, and there is somebody at the back, right? So there's a bit of a front and back idea, and this is something that you could try in your sketch in order to create depth in your sketch. All right, now I'm going to talk about a couple more ideas that you can use to create depth in your watercolor sketch. I'll switch over to watercolor and then we can talk about that example. But before I talk about using watercolor, I just want to talk about the shape, using shape as a means to create depth. So for example, if you have if you draw for example, a person, say for example, if you draw a person and say okay, so like so, let's say, and you want to kind of differentiate this person who is in front from the person who is at the back by drawing something smaller. Let's say the head is smaller and the figure is smaller, and obviously, in proportion, that person is indicated at the back. It's better if these two figures overlap, the shapes overlap somewhat, and that's easier. It's harder to read if the person is a little bit separated, let's say. Now, you can still see that this person is smaller and hence is at the back, and this is in front compared to these two. The thing is that it's an echo because I use the word echo because the shape are both body figures, right? They are both. But if you were to change the drawing to say, let's say there's a person, and then you draw, let's say, a car. Now, psychologically, it's very hard to read whether this is a flying car in front or this is a, or there's the relationship between these two is not so obvious. That's what I'm trying to say. And the size and shape, it's a bit harder to read because there's no echo. Echo works only when the two shapes are of the same type. Let's say they are bananas, or they are cars, or they are motorcycles, or they are of the same type of shape and you will be able to read front and back because there's an echo. Whereas if you use a different shape, the echo doesn't work as well, although in some cases it might still work. All right, so that's something to think about when you're using shape and size to create that differentiated spacing or depth in your drawing. Okay, what are some other ideas you can use besides shape, size and shape to create depth? So let's say repeat our figure. Okay, and there is a smallish figure at the back, right? Okay. Well, you notice that one other trick that I've used is a thinner line and a thicker line. That's one trick, but that's not the one I want to show you. What I want to show you is that you could use, for example, a very light washed, in other words, a wash that is using less pigment than, say, a wash that is far more pigmented, right? And the idea is that if I load more pigment to the one in front, and I can create some kind of a difference between the front and the back. So that's one. Another one is where you can use more neutral for the one at the back. So in combination, you have these few ideas, right? So now, in order to neutralize the brown, I would add a bit of a purple and add more water to water it down, right? And that is my figure at the back, where it's a neutralized brown, if you like. Okay, I did not wait for it to dry. Bad. More neutralized. And in front, where I'm using a much more sort of vibrant colors. You can do this with things like trees or leaves, where the green is very bright and green, and then there's a muted green where the green has been neutralized somewhat with its complementary red, for example. So the ideas here we've discussed. One, to create depth, you can use size. Two, you can use basically more pigments, right, for the one in front. And three, you can use more neutralized pigment or colors to create the sense of depth, right? So more or less pigment, big, smaller size, neutral pigment for the depth. All right, I hope that helps. But what I want to do though is to maybe ask that you think about what other ways that you can use to create this sort of a depth idea of distance and depth in your sketch. I guess that's homework for you. You can put some of your thoughts in the description below. I'll be happy to give you my comment. Okay, so bye for now in this episode. This is WeTake out.